So one of the things I'm going to ask you on the test is to know the phases of the sliding filament theory and which either mineral, protein, or ion are involved in those things, each one of those stages. Hey Roxana, can you see this on the video?
It's like small, but you can see it.
You can actually see it if you were to squeeze in on it. Okay, so this is, and again, I won't erase the board if you want to take a picture, and then I'll put it on the text feed in a little bit, or whatever. So don't freak out. I'm not, hey, I'm writing more story. Don't take a picture yet. Yeah, don't do it yet. There's going to be so much more. This is the preface to the real story that's about to be written. Okay, this is the prologue. Okay, everybody good about that? Are we good? Those are those 5 steps, and I need for you to know what's happening. And I know that seems crazy, that, and that looks like that on a scientific level. Okay, say got it when you got it. And remember, you're going to get to listen to this. Again, maybe you don't want to. You're not required to listen to it again. But if it will help, it will help. Now, here's what we start to see. This sliding filament theory, remember, this is all about actin and myosin and one sarcomere. Do you just want to live your life moving one sarcomere? No. How many do you want to move? All of them. So that's going to take a lot more energy. So all of this is what starts the movement process in the beginning. Now, does anyone know how important ATP is? Because it's a source of energy. Hey, what happens when you run out of ATP? You're dead. Yeah, ATP, dead. How many of you woke up with ATP this morning? Woohoo! Okay, so here's what we know. If you don't have ATP, you are DEAD. So this is what we need to know. So is the process of going from ATP to ADP, getting that molecule back, important? Yes or no? Yes. And this is going on all the time. It's a beautiful thing. Now, come with me over on to page 9. And this is when we see the story continuing to go on. So what I want you to think of is all of this is going on in the background. Background noise. It's like white noise. Shh. Okay? But something else is about to be said. Now, what we see coming on to play is once this wheel gets spinning, which the wheel is always spinning. When you're sleeping, the wheel is spinning. So we see something having to come on stage to make more movement happen. And in this recharge process, it's relaxing, but since the body is saying, hey, I want to do a little more, another neurotransmitter comes into play. And that neurotransmitter is acetylcholine. Ace in the hole. So it talks about acetylcholine right there. And so what acetylcholine does, acetylcholine stimulates your nervous system and tells every single neuron to get ready to rock. Something's about to happen. And what's interesting is acetylcholine isn't real picky about who it chooses to make the magic happen. So it stimulates this thing called all or none. So once acetylcholine comes in, it's telling you, you better be ready to pick up this marker, or you better be ready to pick up this table. Acetylcholine doesn't care. It just is either going to recruit all motor neurons or none of them. Now, the body will respond to whenever you ask it to. So as we begin to learn about the body's different movement patterns and we train efficiently and effectively, the body will take what acetylcholine does. Acetylcholine stimulates what? All or none. What does acetylcholine stimulate? All or none. Now here's what we know. Once all neurons are on board, the better and efficient you are trained, it's going to know which muscle fibers to recruit. So all of a sudden, I'm sitting here and I've got sliding filament going on in the background over here because I woke up this morning. So it's going on. I'm standing right here and I'm looking at those 3 items. I'm looking at the paper, the marker, the water, and the 4th item would be the table. Through the amazing design of our body and our brain, if I start walking to that and my goal is to pick up one of those 4 items, my body, all neurons are on because of acetylcholine, but my body is now going to recruit those ones that it needs to get the job done. Question, is my body going to need different motor neurons to pick up this, to pick up this, and to pick up this? Yes or yes?
Yes.
Yes. So your body has this way because you practiced it. Now it goes wrong sometimes, okay? Has anybody been walking down the street and you think the curb is somewhere and you fall off the curb and you're like, oh, do I see me? Okay? So your body is used to these training modalities, but it can be flubbed up. Okay? Another weird example, and this is an example I tell about Stan. He's not here to defend himself, so I can talk about him. So I heard, this is before I knew him, I heard this story. They were going to a rehearsal dinner for his brother's wedding. And it was at like a Texas Day, Brazil. So it's like the fire and the big door and meat and all of this stuff. He walks up to the front door and it's this heavy door that's got this wrought iron handle on it. And so his brain is telling him to recruit a few or a lot? A lot. Come to find out, it was one of those lightweight faux painted doors that, you know, there's a lot of artificial looking stuff that they were trying. So he is like, pulls, hits himself right here, had to go and get stitches the night of the rehearsal dinner. So our proprioceptors and our all or none recruitment goes right most of the time, but it can screw up. Let me give you another example, because when I give you examples, you remember, especially when they're bad and they're funny. Okay? This kind of, ladies can identify with this a little bit more than guys, especially ladies that might share spaces at times with men. Okay, so I get up to go TT in the middle of the night. I'm walking in the complete dark because I know exactly where everything is. All of a sudden, I know my quads and hamstrings and glutes are trained to exactly when to contract and exactly when to relax because I have landed. Are you with me so far?
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's say that some person that I live with might have left the potty seat up. Okay. Yeah. Kill him. Okay. So all of a sudden, this motion that is a normal, typical motion for me, that is seared into my motor patterns, all of a sudden, go, 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 relax. I keep going. And really, it's only this much. How far does it feel? It's crazy, isn't it? So our body knows what to recruit, when to recruit it, except when we trick it. It's just the coolest thing that goes on. We are so beautifully designed. Because what acetylcholine triggers is, acetylcholine triggers this thing called muscle twitch. Now, remember, what's going on in the background the whole time? Sliding filament theory is always going on. Why? Because we're alive, because we have what involved, Jesse? We have ATP alive. So all of this is going on in the background, okay? I have all of a sudden come into acetylcholine. Now I have stimulated muscle twitch. Now, we see 2 different kinds of muscle fibers when it comes to twitch fibers. Excellent. What'd you say, Clayton?
Fast and slow.
Okay. We typically see fast twitch and we see slow twitch. Now, what I will say is we typically call these aerobic in nature. We typically call these anaerobic. We typically call these anaerobic in nature. Now, here's what we know currently about science. And for those of you that have had sports nutrition with me, you know that I'm always bucking science and looking for new current science. However, this is what we know so far. We know that each one of us are born with a certain amount of type 2 fibers. We actually call these type 2 over here, and these are type 1. Now, within each one of these categories, we have more explosive even. The type 2X fibers are the most explosive out there. What are type 2 fibers? PL. When I write on the board, my brain gets ahead of the letters, sorry. Okay, so type 2 fibers are, what are they? You don't sound very explosive. Type 2 fibers are explosive. Okay, now we actually start to see some specific characteristics come into play. We're all born with some of each. We are typically more predominant in one or the others. So when I think about my basketball players, when I think about my high jumpers, when I think about people that deliver high potential force one at a time, then get to rest, that's my most explosive athletes out there. Now, when I think about my cross-country runners over here, cross-country runners typically have these very aerobic in nature. Now, here's what I'm gonna say. Please don't tell someone that busts out 6-minute miles for 26 miles that they're slow. That would not work out well for you, would it? Okay, but we know that the fiber types, the way they look under the microscope, are very different. So when you look in your book on page 10, please.